Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, college football fans, college golf fans, heck, golf fans across the nation and around the world. This is Tim May with the Tim May Show. And yeah, you recognize him sitting in that co-pilot seat. I'm not going to mess around with any other kind of introduction kind of stuff from the Golf Channel, former Ohio State All-American, former U.S. amateur golf champion, 11-time winner on the PGA Tour, 10-time winner on the Senior Tour. And he won some other terms. They don't seem to count in the overall number for whatever reason. But John Cook, finally, welcome to the Tim May Show.
Well, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me, Tim. If I counted all the tournaments like Gary Player does, I probably have over 100. He counts his Pro-Am wins, his team wins, all that stuff. But yeah, there's a few.
His Nassau's,
yeah, all of it.
He
counts it. He's got like 300 and some wins. Well, yeah, I imagine.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's crazy. I got to talk to him one time. What a character. But I want to talk to you for a couple of reasons. Number one, you're a rabid may not be the right term because you're not really foaming at the mouth, but you're a staunch Ohio State football fan.
I've got my watch band. That's Ohio State. I got my phone case and
screensaver.
See my computer on both sides. Yeah, I would say I'm a fairly rabid fan. Yes.
Well, I got a buddy of mine, Jeff Snook, who has actually a toilet seat cover with Ohio State on it. I'm not sure what that means.
I don't. I'm not going there. No.
Well, I think when he put the seat up, he used to play the fight song, whichever fight song of the day. But yeah, I mean, boy, once you're Ohio State, I mean, let's talk about football first, man, because I want to talk to you about Neil Shipley and where he's headed in the U.S. Open and things, and also a little bit just touch on, what does the Live Tour mean to all of us, running down the road, and I'll give you some of my analogies. But I wanted to ask you, number one, are you as fired up about this potential Ohio State football season as everybody else seems to be? I think you are. I heard you with Skip Mossick one day talking about it.
Yeah, it's connection goes way back. My father was a graduate assistant there. He went to Denison, but he was a graduate assistant at Ohio State, and then an assistant coach for Woody back in the 60s and the mid 50s and the 60s. So my scarlet and gray blood run very, very deep. No matter where we've lived in our lives, I've always represented Buckeye Nation, whether it be Southern Cal and Trojan Nation or Orlando with Gator Nation, everywhere. Now it's in Scottsdale with Sun Devil Nation. There's a lot of Ohio State people in Scottsdale. Make no mistake. There's a lot of people. So my loyalty runs deep. But yeah, I mean, Coach Day pushed all in, didn't he? He pushed all the chips in. This was going to be the year. I think with those seniors all coming back, the Sawyers, the Hendersons, some of the line, defensive players all coming back. Yeah. That tells me something, that they're not satisfied with, being 0-3 against the team up north. They want some gold pants. And that just tells me that, so, okay, you guys came back. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to hire Chip Kelly. I'm going to hire, these incredible minds as coaches. I can't wait to see what Chip Kelly can do just coaching an offense. You don't have to worry about anything else. Well, we saw what Oregon could do when he was up in Eugene and score about 50 a game. So it'd be exciting anyway. So it's an exciting time, to get all the pieces going together. I think the defense will be incredible, and the offense will. I think that they'll get going, and once they get going, forget about it. They got weapons everywhere.
Yeah, if they got if they get the right trigger man, right? I mean, Will Howard transferred from Kansas State, but you really don't know, is he that elite special guy or Devin Brown? Go ahead, right? That is a little bit of a quandary, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's a good problem to have. 5 in the QB room that all could be number ones anywhere that they would go. Even the freshmen. The freshmen could all be. Oh yeah. Could be starters anywhere, and we know what Keinholz can do. An incredible athlete. So I don't know. We'll see where that goes. Just all you got to do is just give him the keys and just pump the brakes a little bit and don't hit the curbs. That's it.
That's right.
Yeah. Let that Ferrari go.
Hit the apex and accelerate.
Exactly.
It's really interesting, John, because I asked Ryan Day earlier this week. I said, I've been covering this team now for 41 years, and I don't. I mean, there were some years like '98 96, or actually 95, 2014 or 2015, after they won the championship,
Yeah.
they had all those guys back, and
Yeah.
you just when you think, you put that perfect team together, stuff happens. But I've never seen a preseason nationally where Ohio State is getting this kind of like national title or bust kind of situation. Can you
Yeah.
imagine the pressure that's really on Ryan Day right now?
No, no question. He's, like I said, he pushed his chips all in. He did for a reason. He appreciated the fact that those kids did come back. They won they won a Big Ten championship. They want to beat Michigan, and they won a national championship. And they've been very, very close. I think a couple years ago, the Georgia game, I think they win that game, they go on and slaughter TCU as well. So I think it's time. We're ready. The thing is, this is the great thing about being an Ohio State football fan is they're good all the time.
Yeah.
They're really good every single year, and it's just fun to banter back with my SEC friends that think that they just walk on water down there. So I'm excited for it, to say the least.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think, I'll be honest with you, I don't think Ohio State fans, and this is a critical thing, I don't think they really many of them totally appreciate how good this program has been for so long. The fact they haven't won the brass ring more than a couple of times over the last, 40 years bugs them. But I mean, they've been in the running. But as my buddy I've just mentioned a while ago, Jeff Snook always reminds me, they've, in his mind, blown more national title chances than anybody else.
Well, that's true. They've been knocking on that door a lot.
Yeah.
Yep, they've had their chances, no doubt.
Yeah. But I mean, it's just, I think people get spoiled to a certain extent, but that's what makes sports, right?
Yep. That's why we love it.
And speaking of spoiled, Scotty Scheffler was supposed to win the US Open going away. He was not a factor. I wanted to just make that little quick segue. I was volunteer for the third straight year in the US Open. My shifts are always in the morning, which means I can go out and watch golf in the afternoon, especially on the weekends. That's when it really happens. Neil Shipley, following in John Cook's footsteps. He's a runner-up in the U.S. Amateur last year. You actually won it, 1970, 78 or 79? Help me.
78, and I got beat in the finals in 79.
79, exactly. Yeah. I mean, and then you took off into your pro career wearing that. Was Jack Nicklaus modeling your haircut, or were you modeling Jack Nicklaus's haircut at that point? That blonde bomber.
I had the California mullet going long before Justin Bieber rocked that thing. So I learned early on, being an Ohio kid growing up in Southern California. That's what the 70s were. The early mid 70s. That's what you did. You had white sandy blonde hair, beach blonde, spent all day in the water or the golf course. So I mean, that's what I was. That was my look.
Yeah, you were tan even though it was January in Ohio. It's crazy. As I like to say, I started wearing a hair helmet when I was about in the 11th grade. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
I still like long hair compared to short hair, but my wife keeps wanting me to cut it off.
My wife keeps saying, one of the reasons I started dating you in high school was your hair. So, well, I still have some. I'm going to keep growing.
Exactly, fluff it up. That's what I do. Hey, but put me, Neil Shipley. I followed his entire round on Sunday. It was literally a match play with him and Luke Clanton, and I'm gonna get into why both of those guys extremely well in a second. But it was a match play for low amateur, and here's Neil Shipley, low amateur in the Masters, which is crazy, right? And then he's low amateur in the U.S. Open. Number one, I'm standing, like I told you earlier before we started, I was standing like 6 feet from Luke Clanton when he hits that ridiculous shot on 18 off the sand. He was so far right, he wasn't even in the natural area, but he hit a beautiful little fade off the sand, and what was 4 or 5 feet away.
Almost hold it,
and could have stolen it, almost hold it, and could have stolen it. Instead, he 3-putted. Neil Shipley, in essence, 2-putted for his par and wins the low amateur in the U.S. Open. And there's got to be a sense of pride for you right now with what you've seen from Neil Shipley and what he's done the last couple of, well, basically the last 10 months.
Yeah, I got to meet Neil, of course, last year when he came in from James Madison, graduating James Madison in 3 years. So he
Yeah.
had plenty of years left, and comes to Ohio State, and ended up meeting him kind of early in the year, and super nice kid. I didn't really know much about him. I mean, I knew Max Moldovan very well, and of course, Coach Jay Mosley. We speak quite often, but to meet Neil and watch him play at the NCAAs there at Greyhawk last year
Yeah. Last
in
year.
23 was really fun, walking around practice rounds and getting to know him a little bit. Very highly impressed with his game. Fit into the team really well, and they made a nice little run last year as well.
Yeah.
But then getting to know him even more through last summer, and I was the walker there at the U.S. Amateur at Cherry Hills, so I did walk with that final pairing, that final match, trying not to root too hard for my fellow Buckeye and what this great championship could mean for him and his career. Just ran into the best player. Nick
Yeah.
Dunlap is clearly was he was the show pony last year. Everything was on his back, and he took it. And so, great congratulations to Nick and what he's done, in his 12 months or 10 months since that win has been ridiculous. But
Yeah.
just knowing Neil and then seeing him progress then into, saw them last fall at a tournament that was in Scottsdale. Went out and watched, and he just had improved since even last year. Seeing him at the Masters and being low-am, playing with Tiger on Sunday, chatting a little bit with him after he got done, and then following them all the way through into the NCAAs was a treat. Obviously, you have to root for your team, but you have to be impartial as well. But you see Neil and where he's come from, what's in front of him, what he can fall back on. I mean, what is he, a quantitative finance
Yeah.
double masters? I mean, it's silly on how smart this kid is, but I was keep telling him, if you want to go play, go play, find out, figure it out. If not, you've got a lot of Buckeye Nation alumni in Columbus that there's something there always waiting for you once you graduate or you attend Ohio State.
Yeah.
You're part of that alumni forever, and there's a lot of us around. So
Yeah.
he's going to enjoy it. I know he's this week up in Canada, making his pro debut on the PGA Tour Americas. It used to be the Canadian PGA Tour Canada, the Canadian Tour. So he'll find out what it's all about. Sign your name on a scorecard and figure it out.
Yeah, he couldn't wait because he had to wait to cash in because his entree obviously into the U.S. Open was being runner up in the
Right.
U.S. Amateur last year, and he couldn't do like Maxwell Maldovan and just jump pro right after college, right
Right.
after he got to finish his college. But I don't want to get out of sequential order. I want to ask you this first: how tough was it to watch those guys? I mean, you've been a professional broadcaster for a long time now, so I'm not questioning your credentials in that regard. But how tough was it to watch your team, your former school, going at it against Auburn in the NCAA semifinals out there in California in Carlsbad, earlier, and you were on the call, man. You were on the I call it the Golf Channel call, and you had to be anguished, as Adam Wallen went into those extra holes with everything on the line, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I learned years ago when I was a player, and Ken Venturi was calling an event, and he was my mentor, my teacher, my great friend since I was 14 years old. So
yeah,
I remember Kenny, always being very cautious, almost being a little overcritical, because in his ear, the great Frank Chircanian kept saying, Kenny, be careful, be careful. You can't root too hard for your kid. And so I remember Kenny, telling me stories of Chircanian in his ear going, careful, Kenny, careful, don't root too hard now. And I remember that all through the NCAAs, kind of quietly rooting, but maybe being a little tough, trying to, show my nonpartisanship. Sometimes it would come out, but yeah, it was not easy. It wasn't easy. Adam, going up against, one of the greats. I'm like, even, first of all, the team beat Vanderbilt, which has been #1 all year.
Yeah.
They beat Vanderbilt in the first round in the quarterfinals. That was no easy task. You got Gordon Sargent, William Mall, Cole Sherwood. I mean, these kids are all in the top 25 in the country, and then taking them down. Then going to the final extra holes in the semifinals. Against the young freshman phenom, Jackson Coyven. So, yeah, and who's a tremendous player. He's young, but Adam really showed some perseverance. He showed his maturity, his experience, not getting wrapped up in the moment. He looked cool, calm, and collected as can be, to take that to extra holes and being that close to winning. It was just amazing.
Dude,
it's fun to watch.
Yeah, go ahead. I want to ask you.
Fun to watch, fun to be part of. I mean, it was, yeah. I mean, couldn't be more proud. Honestly, couldn't be more proud to, to have our school that was ranked, only like 32nd, I think, in the country, which is no joke. They were good.
Yeah.
Playing a very difficult golf course. And I remember talking to Coach Mosley and said, "Well, we play these courses all the time. We don't shoot 50 under par to win tournaments. We survive, and we play tough courses. You play Scioto, you play all these incredible courses. So they're used to, par is a good score. And that's what Ohio State did. They just kind of parred everybody to death."
I was going to ask you too, has it ever bothered you, or maybe not, about how much luck plays in? Like, we'll get back into that U.S. Open in a second, but just, that was that on 17 or 18 when Coyven hit the shot that hit the TV tower.
It was 17.
17.
Yeah, and
it
was
the TV tower's not there. Adam Wallen wins the thing. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? Probably.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. They always, well, yeah, ifs and buts for,
Yeah, I know.
But the TV tower was there, and it was, hey, I've used a backstop before, in a playoff in '92, Bob Hope Classic. I used the grandstand backstop. It was behind 18. I used it a couple times. Why not if it's there? Now that one was really wide. You couldn't miss that one. It was wide.
No.
But that little TV tower was, only 5 feet by 5 feet. So it was a pretty small area. But you know what? That happens in the game of golf. I've been lucky. I've been unlucky. They say it all evens out. I don't believe that. No, I don't believe that for a second, that it all evens out. But I've been lucky in my life, and it could be more proud of what the golf team did. Really, against the top teams in the country.
Yeah, I was going to say that was going to lead up to it. There's a chance that if Ohio State had pulled that off, that Shipley might have been paired with Luke Clanton in the finals. You know what I mean? I don't know how the pairings would have gone down, but and yet there they are a month later, not even a month later, going for the low am in the U.S. Open. In your mind, is that a major prestigious award? How would you describe being the low am in a tournament like that? I mean,
it would be it's an honor. I was not low am at the Masters when I was an amateur, or the U.S. Open. I was second. I forget. I know Clampett was at Inverness, or one of them. Anyway,
yeah, I was going to ask. Yeah.
So I never did get to experience that. I got to experience a lot of great things as an amateur, playing in major championships. So I didn't get that one, but I know you're sitting at a small table when you are low am at the Masters and the U.S. Open, something that may not be accomplished for a long, long time. So he's got that to hang those medals on at that small table.
Yeah, I got a sense that when Bobby Jones won the Grand Slam, I got a sense he did it that year. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right,
Since he was an amateur.
I think he probably was.
That was when the U.S. Amateur was one of the majors, but and then of course he won the U.S. Open. But hey, I want to ask you this though: as you're watching that tournament, what just over the weekend, what just jumps out at you about golf? I mean, because you played Pinehurst in 1999. Obviously the year Payne Stewart won it, and then tragically, died in that plane crash later, a little later. But what do you remember? Because I'm thinking you're in some ways playing that tournament with these guys to a
Totally.
certain extent because you played that track.
Yeah, I played in the early 80s in the Hall of Fame Classic. I played a tour championship there. I think it might have been 92. I think it was 92.
I think it was, yeah.
US Open 99 and in 05. In 05, I played really well. I was I top 15. It got me in Winged Foot the next year. I was turning, 48, 49. So I was at the end of my career. But, I got Pinehurst. I understood it. I understood the examination that Donald Ross was putting forth. I understood that, and I learned all that to understand what the architect was doing from Tom Weiskopf. That he told me during practice rounds, just, hey, this is an examination on what the architect was giving you, and if you can figure it out, you're going to have a long career. And I started studying, various architects, and so I got the message that Ross was telling you. Trajectory control, spin control, putting the ball away from the flag stick, stuff like that. Swallow your ego. Every pin's not a go pin. And so I understood that. Now I did feature groups last week. So we were following, one group for 4 days, 4 rounds.
Yeah.
But I would keep my eye on the rest of it because we would show enough of the leaders while we were on, a break from our players or our group. To understand what was going on. And I think that the players that got to Pinehurst saw the native grass, saw that there was no rough. The golf ball was going places that, hitting in fairways and hitting on greens and going places other than what they wanted it to go. The players that embraced it played well.
Yeah.
The players that were defeated when they got there say, oh, it's unfair, and there's no greens, the greens are too fast. Well, you could eliminate those guys right away. So the top players, they got it and they understood it, and that's what I thought. Watching these great players play around a place like Pinehurst, where you knew that anything in the red was going to be there on Sunday. It wasn't going to be 17, 18 under. It was not Valhalla, where if you didn't shoot 15 under, you didn't finish anywhere near anything.
Yeah.
This was Pinehurst. This was going to be a test, a survival test. And that's exactly what it was.
Yeah, I described it, man. I'm looking at those greens, and I described it as bowl haircuts a little bit. I mean, but it looked like on the cooking channel where they have the cake thing, where they have what they call fondant, which is like icing that folds over stuff.
Right.
I mean, but then you like with Donald Ross, that hogback, I call it the hogback, the turtleback, whatever you want to call it, is 4 different lobes on that green. And then number 3, I thought the greens complex was much more penal than the natural areas. Because I thought most guys handled the natural area, got good breaks or whatever you want to call it, and handled the natural areas pretty well. It is amazing how one shot in golf, your first one on a hole, you're knocking the crap out of it, and the next one you're doing heart surgery, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's basically what it was. Is you had to play each hole strategic, and you get to like this hole number 2 where it's a long par 4 anyway, but you can't hit the green. So where do I want this? Where's the easiest way to make a 4?
Yeah.
And sometimes you get that. Then you have a hole that you can birdie at number 3. Then you have number 5 that you need to get through with an eagle or a birdie. And then you just kind of wait it out again until you get to number 10. And then from 10 on in, kind of gut punched you all the way in. So but that's the test. That's the examination. That's what the USJ wants you to do. Is they want to test your physical, your mental, your emotional, and then how well you accepted what Donald Ross was telling you. That's their examination, and you had to get them all right.
Yeah. I was going to say, I wish people could stand where I did a couple of days at number 8 on the left side of the fairway. It looked like you were looking into the high banks of Talladega there on the on the fairway. And some
fairways
guys
were
hit
kind
that.
of going like that.
Yeah, some guys hit that slot, some guys didn't. And the guys hit the
Yep.
slot. I mean, Rory McIlroy one day. Oh my God, and
Yeah.
but anyway, hey, I wanted to ask you this real quick. I don't want to keep you, but what is your take on not Bryson DeChambeau the person? Because obviously he has changed. I think definitely for the better in a lot of ways. You can touch on that if you want, but
Yep.
just his game. I mean, all clubs the same length, whatever. He doesn't have numbered clubs. He has, for want of another term, angled clubs, the
Right. Yeah.
56 degree, whatever. He doesn't even call them numbers. He has carries two drivers. Um, um, just the whole thing about him. What is just your take on his game? Because I always thought several years ago when he first hit the scene, it was a little revolutionary and maybe a little diabolical, from where he was going. But now, dude, you got to say he's the last two majors. I mean,
Yeah.
he's got something going on there.
That he does. And I've spent some time with Bryson. I've played with him a couple of times. And then we were honored at the Friends of Golf there at Bel Air a few years ago. And I got to spend an afternoon with him down at Bel Air in one of the practice facilities, and just trying to just pick his brain a little bit. And he was young, so I just was fascinated with how he's tried to figure things out and where he's taken this. So just to kind of understand a little bit of what he was thinking and talking about. Not that I agreed with. I tried to hit one of his clubs one time and almost hit my left kneecap. So I said, no, this one's not for me, but good luck to you. And he's done it effectively. He went through that phase where he just was going to bulk up and hit it as far as he could. And it kind of broke his body down, to be quite honest. He was chasing distance that he already had.
Yeah.
Then he had a lot of other players chasing distance that they already had, and they didn't need to do it.
Right.
And it hurt their game for a little while. So once they started scaling back and hitting at the distances they're supposed to hit it, then they became fine. But I give all the credit in the world to Bryson that he has gone through changes. He's gone through different phases of his golfing career, his maturity level, his experience level. And then to be, that competitive in majors in the last 2 years, really, is pretty amazing. It just shows that the amazing talents that he has. Highly underrated pitcher of the golf ball.
Yes.
Highly underrated. I didn't think he had any chance to be a good pitcher of the golf ball with the method that he was using when he first came out. And I kind of talked to him a little bit about it, but he says, I'll get it. I'll get it through hard work. I'll get it through experimentation, experience. And he's figured something out. He's a wonderful pitcher of the golf ball. Obviously, the putting method, we can talk a whole show on whether, if that's anchoring or not. It's not, according to the USGA. So he's fine there. So he's figured that out too. And he's figured out how to, drive a golf ball relatively straight for as long as he hits it.
Yeah.
He's throwing it up there, speeds of, well in the 120s with a swing speed and 190s to almost 200 in the ball speed. He kind of runs out of space sometimes, but he still drives pretty darn straight for as far as he hits it. And it's fun to watch.
Yeah. I always say he drives a Safari that he almost gives himself get out of jail free card from the standpoint of, okay, he may not birdie this hole, but he's gotten it far enough up there where he can save par. You know what I mean? Type, no matter where it lands. I mean,
exactly. Yeah. He's got that figured out. He's a scientist. He's a scientist.
But the touch he's developed, like you were just talking about, that's what is amazing to me. And here's the other thing. Rory McIlroy obviously misses that putt on 18. Had missed another putt on what was that? 16.
Yep.
And of course that was the talk of the day. You're a former big time golfer. Did Rory lose that tournament, or did Bryson win it? Bryson gutted out his fourth round. If you go back and watch it,
absolutely,
he gutted out that fourth round. I mean, he dug it out of the dirt. Finally,
Yeah, I think. Well, Rory early on, was putting the pressure on. His name was going up the board. He was making birdies. You could hear the roars. And Bryson was he was kind of hanging around. He didn't have his best stuff. He was fighting. The par he made at number 8 from over the back left of the green was absolutely incredible.
Yes.
That the birdie, he made at number 10 was significant. He made a couple other really good par saves.
Sand save on 11. Yeah.
The sand save at 11 was outstanding. Beautiful tee shot into 13, took advantage of that drivable hole. Another, great save at 14. I mean, he was battling, but he did things down the stretch that he needed to do. Rory did not do that. Hitting it over the green in the worst spot possible at 15, that's pilot error. That's pilot error. You should never be over those greens. You know better than that.
Yeah.
Anything you can play from short. You can't play from over or hole high on those greens at Pinehurst. And he knew that. So horrible mistake by Rory at 15. Short putt missed at 16. That was a pretty easy putt. It didn't have a lot of break to it. And the one at 18 was just, that was a tough putt. I mean, that was outside the hole, really slick. He had a really nice pitch shot, but maybe put it in the wrong spot. I'm sure he would have wanted that shorter the hole, not past the hole. But you know what? Just came down to Bryson DeChambeau did what he needed to do to win the golf tournament. Rory McIlroy did not.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what's, it's always good to be that last guy because you know what you need, I mean,
you have to know what you need to do. And it burns me to a crisp arguing with people that you should not look at the scoreboard. You have no control over that. Just to me is coming from somebody that never won golf tournaments or didn't win golf tournaments. I'm comfortable where I'm at. Well, what does that even mean?
Yeah, what does that even mean?
You have to know how you stand. Otherwise, you don't have to change your game plan if you don't want to or don't need to.
Yeah.
But if you want to win a golf tournament, you need to know where you stand, especially in the last 3, 4, 5 holes. You have to know. And he knew what he needed to do, and he converted.
That's like saying in football, well, I don't really care if I score a touchdown on this drive. You're not looking at the scoreboard. Give me a break.
Yeah. Not knowing what the down is. I mean, come on.
Get down in distance. Yeah. Hey, that happens sometimes. The greats, in football. Hey, last thing. So where does golf go from here? The winner guy could have won two straight majors. Is Bryson DeChambeau, one of the stars of the Live Golf Tour. By the way, he's had better finishes in the last 2 majors than he's had finishes on the Live Tour this year. That's crazy, right?
Yes,
but the top end of the Live Tour is actually pretty damn impressive group of guys.
They are. They've got some who's up there. Yeah,
absolutely. I watched the second round at I was out in Vegas for the Super Bowl week, and I went over and watched at Las Vegas Country Club, watched the second round there, and I'm just going, dude, there's some players here. Brooks Koepka, you know what I mean? Down. I don't need to know.
Yeah, we miss seeing them.
Yeah,
I had Dustin Johnson in one of my feature groups. I missed seeing him. I mean, he didn't play very well, but I missed the guy. He was highly impressive. And, we did follow Koepka one day, and you kind of miss seeing him play more. And of course, Bryson, miss Cam Smith. I just enjoy the talents of a Cam Smith. And, some of the other players, we miss seeing them. I wish they could get together a little bit more often, and maybe they're working to some sort of resolution. I don't know where they all stand. I've kind of lost contact a little bit with that. I know they're working on it. Being close with Patrick Cantley, I understand he's worked really hard on this thing, and they want a resolution. And of course, Tiger being on board as well. So, we miss seeing a lot of those players. It's hopefully they'll figure out something on where this game goes. It fractured it for a while, and then trying to figure it all out has not been an easy process. There's a lot of layers. I've sat in those boardrooms on a tour policy board for a lot of years. I understand what goes on and what the directors are talking about. I mean, it's a real board meeting. So we'll see where resolution. They keep saying that they're close. There's just a couple little sticking points now, and let's see it and get this game going forward again. And it's a game that we all love, and we hate seeing it fractured like it is, and we hate seeing the sides being taken. Golf's golf. I just enjoy the game. Like you said, I'm doing a lot of broadcasting now. I still play a little bit. But I wanted to talk about the game and continue talking about the game that, gave me so many opportunities.
Hey, last two. Is the pressure now on Jay Mosley to do it again? is he looking at Ryan Day kind of pressure now to a
Well,
certain
a little
extent?
bit,
Golf
but
coach at Ohio State, ladies and gentlemen.
he loses he
Yeah,
loses Neil, he loses Maxwell, he loses Adam.
Wallen. Yeah,
Yeah, Adam Wallen, and how he can replace those, he's got to find them. He's got to develop those young kids. I think next year might be a little bit tough, but some of those kids have had some experience and understand on where what's expected of them. And we as alumni are huge fans. So we're they have our 100% support. It's not gonna be easy for Coach Mosley. He's got to bring in some, replace some talents as he go into the transfer portal. It's hard to find portal kids, to come to Columbus, but when they see Columbus and they see the facilities, they see the schedule that they play, and the support that they have, he's doing a great job. He really is. It's not easy. It's not easy being a Midwest school. Mike Small has got Illinois where, we used to be in the 70s and 80s, and into the 90s. So he's got to go in the right direction. This season will not be easy. But we'll see. I hope I wish the best for him.
Hey, and the other thing, Rory McIlroy withdrew from the Travelers this week. Didn't speak to the media, obviously, after the whole rigmarole there. After finishing second at the U.S. Open, I gotta say, he didn't blow it as much as some of the other guys did behind him. But that's another story, right? Nobody cares about that, including your friend Patrick Cantley and the Tony Finau stuff. But are you, that concern is not the right maybe word, but are you interested in seeing where Rory goes from here, from when he clearly has a little bit of a meltdown, maybe not the right term, but supreme disappointment, including pulling out of the tournament the next week that he was, scheduled for. Well, how do you come back from something like this? Obviously, the drought, everybody's going to be on the drought train until the drought train ends, just like with Xander Schauffele. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's interesting to see where he'll go with this. 10 years ago, he was closing these things out at a regular rate and winning by 5-8 shots.
Yeah.
He's had a lot of chances, and the more chances you have that don't convert, it'll start chipping away at you. And he's such a phenomenal, great player. I think he's a better player now than he was probably 10 years ago when he was winning majors. So it's interesting on which way it'll go. He's so good, and his record is so good, and he's used to winning golf tournaments. I don't think this will have much of an effect on him. We'll have to wait and see, the next one. Let's see what happens at Troon. A golf course he knows very well, that he can play very well, and he's got a couple of Open championships under his belt. So I think the supreme test will be the next one. Will be see how he performs at Troon, and if he has a chance down the stretch, if he can close one out. Like I said, you have to convert. He did not convert. He did not do the things down the stretch that he needed to do, and that can wear on you. So it'll be interesting to see where this all goes.
Very last question. John Cook, this is June the 20th as we're recording this, 2024. Does Ohio State win the 2024/2025 national championship in major college football?
They do. They will win. They got to get through Oregon. They got to go to Eugene. I think the winner of that game right there is going to go a long, long way. I think that even the loser of that game, if they don't stumble the rest of the way, probably get a shot. So I say they do. I say it's time. They got it lined up. Like I said before, just whoever the quarterback is, just don't hit the curbs. Just keep that Ferrari going down the center lanes and just let it go. Let your stars be stars.
Dude, isn't it crazy that Ohio State Oregon is a Big Ten game?
It's a Big Ten game. I don't know how this is all going to work. Oh, I can't wait to see USC and UCLA coming to Columbus in November.
Yeah,
see what happens at that point.
USC always had that agreement with Notre Dame that they would play when they hosted. They would host in like late November or December, And then when they played at Notre Dame,
They had
they play in
yeah,
October, so they didn't have
right.
to
Yes.
deal with it because
Yeah,
weather was a deal even back then, John.
I
Hey,
know.
man, thanks for
Yeah.
joining me, man. I really
It was
appreciate it, John Cook.
great to catch up with you. Great to talk to you. Appreciate you having me anytime.
And ladies and gentlemen, until next week, this is the Tim May Show. We'll see you then.